Mrs. Rosario, were you a passenger on a Pan American airplane which was involved in an accident a year ago? I was. You boarded that plane at Havana? Yes, sir. Where were you seated in the plane? I was seated in the second seat to the left, in back of the emergency door on the left side. On the left hand, were there 2 or 3 seats? I was sitting on the left side with my cousin. Do you remember how many seats there were on the left side? Yes, 2. Can you describe the front of the plane, at least the front of the cockpit or the cabin of the plane? There was a no smoking sign and a sign, put on your seatbelts, with the lights on. Was that in English or in Spanish? In English. Was it in Spanish too? If it was, I did not see it. You say you did not see any much signs in the Spanish language? No, in English. You did not see any warning at all in Spanish on the plane? I did not. At the time you got aboard the plane, were the purser and the steward the 2 men in uniform on the plane? I saw the steward. When did you see him? When he came to me and asked me for my coat. Did you see him when you got aboard the plane? I remember that he showed me down the aisle. He led you down the aisle in a seat? Yes, to a seat. Was he the only one you saw on the plane when you got aboard? Yes, the only one. What about the purser? When did you see him? In the water. You never saw him aboard the plane at all? No. What was the first thing you noticed while you were aboard the plane that was unusual? After a few minutes after I got seated in the plane and it started moving, I noticed the engines started running and we began flying, getting up. What was the next thing you noticed? A few minutes afterwards, I heard a very large noise, a big noise from my right side, like the engines on the right side there was another big noise and the airplane began shaking. What did you see them do? I looked to my left side. I saw that we were turning, like going back, and I told my cousin, Norma, maybe they are turning so that we can see Havana for the last time. Go on. A few minutes afterwards, we were just going down, and as we were almost in the water, and when I felt that the airplane was hitting the water, I heard a big noise again, like something broken off. Let me ask you in this point about the purser. Was he one of the 2 men in uniform you saw when you came aboard? When I came in, a man, it was the steward, he came over to me and asked for our coats. I gave him my coat and my cousin's. When did you see him again? When the airplane was in the water, I saw him. He was running forward from the pilot's cabin to us. He was wearing a life jacket. He kicked the emergency door and he went out. Did you do anything then? When I saw him, I took my seatbelt off. I knew we were going back in the sea, and I told my cousin, take off your belt. She was screaming, and I said, don't scream, take off your belt. She was pale, and she could not do it. After I took mine off, I helped her, and I took her by the hand and went forward to the emergency door where the steward was standing and shouted to him, where are those things? I meant the life jacket. I asked him in English because I did not know that he was Spanish, and he told me they are in the pockets. Did you go back to your seat then? I remembered in that moment that when I went in to get seated, I saw a paper bag in the pocket in front of me. I went back and looked in the pocket with the zipper. There I saw nothing, and I looked in my cousin's pocket. I did not find anything, and I went to the door. You say you did not find anything. Did you find a life jacket in there? No, just a paper box. tell me at any time from the time you got into the plane until it came down in the water, did anybody tell you where the life jackets were? No, sir.